Greetings nerdy list aficionados, it's endgame time once more, so you know what that means. At the time of this recording it's April 29th, so we're still in full spoiler territory. So if you don't want to be spoiled, get out now, cause this may be our most spoilery one yet. We're gonna talk about moments that surprised fans and went against some of their expectations. I'm Sasha and these are the top 10 surprising endgame moments. Number 10. No end credits. By this point it has been reported far and wide that there is no end credits scene, so you don't have to sit through the credits if you really don't want to. Even though it's nice, a lot of people worked on it. However, people still sit in hopes because the end credits scene has become an ingrained tradition in the minds of viewers. It sets up for the future. So while not having one for Endgame makes perfect sense, for some it was surprising. Not just because they're so used to seeing them, even outside of the MCU at this point, but because the marketing campaign for Phase 4 has already begun. So the press has already sort of begun to move on. There's not a whole lot of breathing room in press cycles these days. But if you can, take a moment and just soak up all the endgame conclusion closure, whether you liked it or not. Number 9. Robust Thor. So Avengers Endgame features a 5-year time jump, which is a time-honored trope that allows one to make sudden changes to characters for shock, depth, or humor, and not have to spend a lot of time explaining how they got to that point. The time is part of the explanation. While this one involved Thor going from chiseled, bounce a coin off my abs Chris Hemsworth, to depressed, alcohol-abusing, I'm not okay, extreme dad bod, Big Lebowski Thor. While this is played off for comedic effect for the most part, it is acknowledged to be serious in its undertone. However, some fans have taken issue with it. They feel it is not taking the subject seriously enough. Although for anyone who's been with the MCU for years, that's hardly surprising. They rarely take these things seriously. Or as seriously as some feel they should. Look at Iron Man 3. PTSD was a total joke in that film. So some feel one really shouldn't be looking for deep commentary in these films, while others feel moments like these should be left out. Mileage varies. Number 8. Cameos. Now cameos in and of themselves are hardly surprising, but what was for some was the extent of them. Characters from years prior returning and actually having their own little moments. And of course extra cameos from directors and actors from other series like Community. It's always fun to spot people or have characters appear again. It always makes the universe feel more complete. Number 7. Hulk Banner. After a lack of the Hulk in Infinity War, a bunch of fan theories were launched as to why this was happening. One very creative one was even that Bruce was Loki. However, thanks to the time jump, we didn't have to deal with any of that, and we come into a Bruce who has just reconciled his two halves, or rather, he's in Hulk form but with his own mind. So for some, it was quite shocking, though some feel that Bruce kinda murdered the Hulk. Did he subsume his consciousness? Some are very worried about the Hulk's safety. Number 6. Valkyrie. When the recruitment is going on and Rocket and Hulk Banner go to see Thor in New Asgard, they are greeted by a familiar face, Valkyrie. Now for those who couldn't escape extra press material, this wasn't all that shocking since it had been revealed that she survived the snap. However, for others, it was a moment to see her there alive and well and still at Thor's side. It means there's a future for her. Some are even pulling for a solo film. Number 5. Peter's whole class. So Peter Parker returned, much to the thrill of the audience. However, during the epilogue reunion scenes, one sees Peter reuniting with his friend Ned, and in the trailer for Far From Home it appears Michelle Jones is there too. So did all the relevant people in Peter's life get snapped, or is it earlier in the timeline? Questions, questions. If it's earlier, well maybe we'll get to see Tony again, which I would love. My heart. Number 4. Natasha's sacrifice. There have been some mixed feelings about Avengers who didn't make it out of Endgame, particularly Natasha, who sacrificed herself so that the team could get the Soul Stone. Now some feel that this was not a fitting end for her character and that she deserved better, while others wonder if there is some other way that she can come back. Once you start playing with timelines and alternate realities, you open up a whole new world of possibilities. Some feel like it was out of character. What do you think? Number 3. 15 minutes of screen time. I tried to do it with my hands, I don't have enough hands. So there was much to do made about Carol Danvers aka Captain Marvel before Endgame. There was contention in the pop culture realm, in the fandom reporting realm, on social media, just a lot of places, and for some it made the fandom quite unpleasant. While many were concerned that Captain Marvel was going to come in and monopolize the film, that she would be a focus and sideline pre-established characters. However, it turns out the character was barely in the film, and clumsily written in the minds of some, to the point where some feel she was a last-minute addition. So not only was this a surprise to some, both those who wanted wanted and didn't want to see her, but it made some ponder why she was such a prominent part of the press tour if she was barely in the film. The answer is most likely as she is meant to be the face of Phase 4. But only time will tell. Number 2. Old Steve. So the conclusion of Steve's arc is one that has left many fans cold from a variety of angles. While some love it and feel it is the ending he deserves, others are a bit more perplexed. Some are curious as to whether or not Steve's actions have created parallel timelines, or also why is he so old? From most people's understanding, the serum altered how Steve aged, and many felt was supposed to keep him young or younger. So they were stunned to see him so old. The fan theories have already begun. One of the more outlandish being that old Cap is Loki. However, there was something else about this that really got to people, and that's our number 1, till the end of the line. Who remembers this line, said first by Bucky to Steve in the 40s, then again by Steve to Bucky in The Winter Soldier? An assertion that neither will give up on the other, that they stick together no matter what. That is, unless you get an opportunity to go back in time to see an old flame and alter her timeline. The thing about Cap living his life and getting his happy ending is that it leaves Bucky high and dry in the present, in much the same position Steve was in Avengers, having to adjust to the world alone in a sense. It also contradicts some of Steve's past actions in the minds of certain fans in prior films. This feels like a far cry from the man who nearly murdered Tony and was willing to leave him to die in Siberia for Bucky, to the man who just left Bucky in the present without even telling him. Though some postulate that he did tell him off screen. For many this was surprising just because of how important the relationship had been and what it had become. Again, mileage varies. So let me know what surprised you about Endgame. I'm sure it was different for a lot of people. I want to hear all your feelings. I'm Sasha, thanks so much for watching Top 10 Nerd. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon here on Top 10 Nerd. Bye bye.